Hello and welcome again. Now we will listen to Chris Karajanis from NICE. Enjoy!
Test, test. Hi everybody, my name is Chris. Forget about the last name, it's anyway too complicated. Welcome, thank you for joining my slot. I will be telling you a little bit about digital transformation today, especially how to do it right. Because if we just look at what companies are looking at the moment, is obviously to digitize the services, to improve efficiency, to improve response times, and obviously cut down the handling time and also the length of the calls in the contact center. Why? Almost every company at the moment is looking for efficiency improvements. We know it. Last 3 years have been a little bit of a challenge for everybody. A lot of people which were never ever meant to work from home were shifted into a working from home environment. There were huge challenges in the architecture because especially Germany was just not ready for such a scenario of hybrid working. And architectures are obviously not fit to accommodate such a work environment. So all companies are looking now into the processes, are looking into the tasks, are looking into the infrastructure and the working model in order to improve the efficiency. What is the answer at the moment? What is the buzz topic of these days? A couple of years back it was automation, right? RPA attended. Now everybody's looking for digital transformation. NICE, as you can see, is a major player when it comes to digital transformation. CCAS, contact center services, telephony from the cloud, services from the cloud which are going to improve, which are going to document what is it that you can do better, and then give you all the beautiful channels and clients that can talk to your customers, take away stuff, mundane, repetitive activities from your employees, and obviously bring down costs. The biggest challenge here is, since there is no homogeneous environment, people are working from home, people are working in the office, people are working mostly on redundant systems, do have one desktop, virtual desktops, and obviously processes are completely different from department to department. Obviously, the number one criteria to automate is gut feeling. And gut feeling usually is leading into a lot of limitations, a lot of challenges, because it is never in context, never in consideration of, first of all, my process landscape, and obviously about the applications and the products which are out there in order to pretty much bring that value into your company. If we look at the big 5 or the big consultancy agencies out there, everybody is already telling us, hey, 90% of organizations really do believe that automation, especially RPA, can really bring benefits to our company. But if you look at the other study, only 4% really have any operation that is more than 50 robots. And if you look at the processes which a robot can deliver, it's pretty much limited to around 10, 15 processes which have been digitized or automated. Only around 30% of tasks can be automated. So from 100%, you only have 30% which you can already look into digitizing with self-service or automation. And then you have another problem. Especially Germany is not an early adopter. And I don't know how you feel if you do talk to a robot. It's not like I can explain. It's not like I can get the feeling that he understands. It's also not like I do have the confidence that it's actually happening what I'm asking for. So only 10% of your entire efforts to identify, build, create, and put self-service into a productive environment will only give you 10% of savings in the contacts that will be ending up still in your contact center. So why is that? We said it. Biggest complexity is obviously coming from the current environment, but also which is the right candidate for automation? Which is the right candidate to put it in self-service? What is it exactly that I can give my customers on the IVR, on the website, which is not that complex to do, which doesn't require now to have an AI to always think about new routines, new stuff that I need to put out there. So you are forced in the end to, first of all, try to identify how your processes are shaped and what is the process candidate then, and which does have also the potential ROI to give you then a quick win and obviously then fuel and boost your operation in order then to be able to build a pipeline and then still invest in additional activities. If we also look into number of transactions, number of frequency and complexity of the use cases, then you obviously have a natural ceiling of what you can see and what you can make happen. Answer is, of course, either employ the consultancy agencies to go through your environment, to do manually an assessment, to document all the processes, to talk to your SMEs, try to identify from any kind of data on what is the most critical stuff that you need to put in production, what's the easiest stuff that you can also put in production, because obviously the most complex things will not work from day one on. So you're looking for low-hanging fruits, and that's the problem. Low-hanging fruits are already harvested. So now is really, if you do still want to bring efficiency, you really need to go down to the step-by-step level of processes in order to understand what is it exactly that I can still take away from my employees, what is exactly that I do need also from a technology perspective in order to talk to my systems. Because if we're talking automation or self-service, it is really just like an orchestration of all your different applications. And I don't know how your environment looks like, but usually the environment of my customers is not homogeneous, right? It's not naturally grown, it changes. We do have a lot of diverse systems which are not integrated, they don't speak to each other. So obviously, if I now invest in interfaces and APIs in order to make it work with all those applications, then my entire potential ROI is already sucked up in the beginning. So the question remains, how can we make it happen? Obviously, what I do want to do is have limited efforts, limited invest in order to, first of all, quantify and also qualify my candidates for automation, and then still try to understand how can I boost my employees, right? Productivity is suffering at the moment. It's not suffering because people are lazy. It is just suffering because we have process gaps. We do have interruptions. We do have inaccessibility of applications, SLAs, which are not working fine. So there's a lot of things that we do need to take in consideration. So what I really need, and just to, first of all, try to understand what is it exactly that I'm facing here. What I need is, I do need to know the process. I can never ever think about putting anything in an automated manner if I do not know what I need to do in order to complete the task. Once I do know which process steps are happening in which systems, then I can decide which is the leading interface, which is the leading technology that I should be using. Is it a still agent-driven process that I do need to make simpler for him and make it more efficient? Or is it maybe something I can just easily give into a self-service approach because it is just a request coming from a customer for a statement, which is just a couple of clicks or just a query in my CRM system? We do need data sources. We just said it. Silos all over the place. Departments, applications, no integration. Looking at the process from different angles is something completely unachievable at the moment. The only thing that you can do is just bring all the data together manually and spend a lot of time and a lot of efforts by manual crunching, manual creation, and comparing the data. Once I do have that, I do have the next challenge. That's big data. If we're talking about interactions that my employees are taking in the environment, we do have around 300 clicks that are happening in a single call. An average of 300 clicks, which is predominantly navigation. So your people are spending the majority of the time just navigating through your apps. And this is the time that they are lacking, focusing on the customer and the customer requests, so the quality will suffer, but also your investment will suffer big time because you need a lot of minutes in order to fulfill a simple a task and a simple service. So we do need the capability to go across all the silos and really put all the data together and look at it accumulately, in order to understand where is really my potential, where is the first big win that I can do. Diverse analysis models, we do have diverse targets. So of course I need to look at it from completely different angles. If I do want to automate, I'm looking at the simple stuff. I'm looking for events, I'm looking for locations, I'm looking for applications where those interactions are happening. If I'm looking at the employee performance, it's a completely different thing again. Because we said it, they are spending 300 clicks per transaction. So there is the actual amount of potential ROI that I have by neglecting that, by allowing them to focus on the customer, which does need them to be already prepared for the call. They do need to know which customer it is, what type of customer it is, what type of services he's eligible. What can I offer him and how should I be offering that? Once I do go into the analysis, again, big data. I do have a lot of data all of a sudden. I do have kilobytes, I do have interactions, I do have footprints coming from my applications. I do have my process mining, which is telling me, okay, what's the lead time? How does the process look from an end-to-end perspective? And obviously, if I do take months for that to analyze, then everything already changed again. I can start from scratch. So we need analysis in real time. Only analysis in real time will allow me to act fast, to be able to cope with any demand and with any scenario that you're facing in your operation at the moment. Because usually when peaks are happening, something is wrong, either outside or in your environment, which obviously need to be fixed and need to be looked at immediately. AI-based, yes, of course, I can employ again a lot of consultants to think about and shape a process that should be digitized. But it is, again, rather based on gut feeling, rather based on experience, really based on what somebody else did, which might not fit to your environment, which might not fit to your operation. So AI will help us to process the data, to qualify the data, and if we do have then an AI that can also sequence the data for me, then I'm even in a position to act as fast as with a fingertip to put it in production. When we're talking about putting it into production, deploying it, I need documentation, right? Before I can start thinking about changing something, there will be a lot of companies out there, especially in the automation sector, which will tell you, hey, you don't need the IT. You can do that in the business. Yes, of course, you can do that. But once you do want to automate something, there's systems, there's application behind that. If the IT is going to change the system in 1 month and you're building an entire strategy based on that application that they're using at the moment, you will be facing a lot of challenges again in 1 month. Everything that you did will be worthless again and you're starting from scratch. So you need to have documentation, you need to have data, you need to have visualization that you can share in order to also put a governance in place, put a pipeline and a long-term strategy on where to go next and how to conquer and obviously then approach and attack the next process or the next project for you. In order to be fast, automated use case identification. Once we do have automated use case identification, once we do have all the click-by-click interactions, we know exactly how to reproduce the process. And then obviously, building the use cases will be quite a limited amount of efforts because you already have the click-by-click, you already have the integration, you do have the metadata, where the access is happening. So in the end, there are solutions out there, like ours, which can automate the use case for you as well, so that you take away around 80% of the efforts which are necessary to identify, to build, and then to put a process in production. Last item, and one of the most important, what automation is suitable? Which is the right one to go with that process? Not every candidate is the same. Not everything can be put in self-service. A lengthy, complex new policy or a new contract that I'm negotiating with my client or a dispute over an invoice or any kind of escalation that is also emotional, right? Once we do have customers on the phone, which are not B2B, it's their money we're talking about. If you have all of a sudden an invoice which is 10 times higher than it was before, they don't want to talk to a robot. They do want to talk to a human being in order for them to reassure them that everything's going to be fine, everything is going to go as we just discussed, and don't worry, you will not be charged with 10K of invoice at the end of the month. How does it work? First of all, we said it, we do need granular data. Once we do have granular data, we can look at it from all kinds of perspective. Once we do have the click-by-click level, and we do go to the elementary steps of a use case and a process, then I can build a bigger picture. Then I can look, what is reusable? What can I build to pretty much cover a lot of different use cases and just work in scenarios? Then you can really look into starts with rather long-hanging fruits, with maybe automizing any kind of ticket reimbursement or any kind of typical service, just like getting a statement, and then obviously go from there. If you remember back what we said in the beginning, only 30% of the candidates are ready to be fully automated. So you do want also to look at the process itself, how people are interacting with the environment, what are they doing in specific scenarios, and learn from your champions because they already know, the beginners don't. So obviously we need to look at all from different angles, but be able to work on the data sample from all kinds of different directions, and obviously make it also available to be supplemented with any kind of other data that you do have, process mining, system events, and any kind of SME input, of course, on how to improve stuff. Once we do have that, this is the decision that you need to do yourself. Is it something you do want to put in self-service? Is it something you do want to have running in the background by just allowing your customers to go on the website, just populate a form and get a service back, just like a statement, like we said? This can be done with RPA. The huge advantage of those two is, obviously it is something that is highly cost efficient. It is a low-code approach. We just said it. We can even go to a scenario where the process pretty much builds itself. So it's quick. It's a quick go-to-market. It's a quick deployment. And obviously, once you do have something on the website, you also have a pull mechanism. You can avoid calls from happening before they even think about, because you can address them on the homepage. Whenever you do look at Lufthansa example given, you lost your luggage. If you look to the website, the only thing that they offer is report the problem. But what if I already reported the problem? Now I do want an update. If you do have a chatbot that's communicating right away for you, telling you, hey, your luggage was identified, it was located, it is now en route to your destination, then the customer is happy. And you avoided the call, and you avoided an unpleasant call for your agent. Second, full RPA, no errors, everything will be highly robust, reliable. Robots are multi-skilled, so you will never run into any kind of SLA issues, because there is always a robot that can just pick up any peaks and just work on a different task overnight, so that you do have, obviously, the biggest ROI coming out of robots. The biggest advantage to robots, and putting it all together, you don't need APIs. Robots are coming with out-of-the-box connectors that can talk to any application out there, no matter if it's third-party, highly customized, or your homegrown solution. It will be always the integration layer that you can fast adopt and adapt to the needs that you do have, with even low-code APIs that you can just develop yourself. Last but not least, again, only 30% of the use case can be automated in full. But we said it, 300 clicks in average. This is something that you need to take a look at, because there's the biggest ROI. If you can take out 20 or 30% of the time in a call, you have a massive ROI across the entire organization by just putting some information in front of the employee, instead of letting him be completely alone with all those different silos that he needs to touch. And then obviously time to service will be much more improved. And on the other side, you're also ensuring that you do have a real-time component, that everything is going as it should, because the robot will be monitoring him and will notify him every time he's deviating from the compliance requirement and the process as it should be, and obviously keep then and ensure that everything that your agents are doing is 100% correct and in line with all your requirements. NICE is the creator of the very first employee assistant called NIVA, NICE Employee Virtual Assistant, and it's doing exactly that. It is looking at the end-to-end digitalization. So whatever comes from self-service couldn't be retained there. The customer is still furious. He still wants to go to an agent. He doesn't want to repeat himself. He doesn't want now to wait and answer any kind of authentication questions. He's already upset, so the only thing that he wants is now a human being that is telling him that it's working. And obviously, once you do have a component that in real time can collaborate with him, you can eliminate any clicks, and also at the same time, just like be sitting next to him and telling him exactly what he needs to do based on the situation and based on the requirement that the customer is putting in front of him. So to summarize, the most important thing if you do want to move into digitalization, if you do want to start your digital transformation, is data. Data is key. If you do not have the data, you will be pretty much relying your decisions on gut feeling, which again, as we just discussed, will have a lot of limitations, a lot of challenges across the journey, and obviously you won't be successful, and you will be spending a lot of money. Analysis in real time, because again, environments are not static. They're changing, and changing. You always need to adapt, and obviously if there are still also things outside, like Corona, like the volcano that we had a couple of years back, which all of a sudden grounded all the airplanes. This is something you don't have under control, and you need to adapt, and you need to act fast, which again gives us a huge demand on having solutions in place which are taking the efforts, the manual efforts, also on the analysis side away from us and automating that for us in order to be then ready to automate fast. Automated opportunity identification, we said it, in order to put it in place, we do not want then to employ large number of coders. We do want to see the process. We want to decide this is the right one. We don't want to see what the ROI is, and then with a click on a button, put it into action. And this is exactly what you need in order to be fast and resilient. Take action, only possible with governments, only possible if you look at the wider picture, only possible if you do it in harmony and in consideration of the strategy of your company, and also where you want to be in 3 years, because only then you will have sustainable investment that will give you a quick ROI without the need to change everything at day 1 and day 2. Last but not least, and from my point of view also one of the most critical decisions that you still need to take, which should be the right candidate, which should be the right solution to put it into production in order to benefit from it, and not just have all of a sudden 20 self-service channels and use cases, but only have around 1% of your customers using that, and the rest 99% is still going into your contact center. I hope that my keynote has given you a lot of insights about how you can shape your digital transformation. We're obviously at the booth in Hall 3. So if you do want to, no, Hall 2, sorry. So if you want to see us, please come to the booth. Otherwise, please contact me for any question, or just shoot at me now. You can also just applause, it's good. Thank you guys.